Hello there, Pursuing Freedom friends. This is your host, Erin Bradley, and I am thrilled to be bringing this solo cast to you being released on Black Friday 2025 because I love giving gifts. So, this is going to be a special offer for you all to consider as you move into your next level self, stepping into a new year in 2026, to use this as an opportunity to ask yourself, where in my life am I ready to level up? And where am I ready to say goodbye to that which I am done tolerating? So, during this fourth quarter, I have had the opportunity to bring some keynote speeches to some conferences and to some small sessions with some amazing real estate and mortgage companies all over the country. I've been traveling nonstop and I have been sharing this talk in as little as 20 minutes or as long as an hour around the idea of what it feels like and what it looks like to imagine your future self, one where you are unapologetic in the pursuit of what freedom and fulfillment mean for you. And the reason I share this is because in one of the slides I shared in one of these workshops, I had this, the background or what was the inception of Pursuing Freedom, right? The name of the podcast is Pursuing Freedom. That's the name of my book, my coaching organization. But what does it really mean? And where did it even begin? And for those of you who've known me a long time, you know that it stems back to when I first took that leap of faith in 2007 to be 100% commission, self-employed as a loan officer, and promptly fell flat on my face. And I found myself in debt, maxed out on all my credit cards, having my credit card declined for a $2 cup of coffee in front of the client, and it was mortifying. And I remember calling my dad for advice at the time, and he asked me at that time, "Do you think you're going to be good at this someday?" And I was laughing as I shared the story because I had no evidence to indicate that I was going to be successful, right? I mean, here I am at financial rock bottom. And I remember just thinking to myself, maybe I'm not cut out for this because I really wanted freedom and flexibility, but it doesn't feel really free when you can't afford anything in your life, not even gas, right? And so he said, if you think you're going to be good at this, do whatever it takes. And so I did. And I opened a credit card, and some may disagree with what I did, but I bet on me in that moment. I realized that I really believe in the possibility that I could be good at bringing value to my clients and be successful in this business. And I had to invest in myself. And a lot of people will say, I can't afford to invest in myself. And I'll say, I couldn't afford not to. So I took that leap of faith and I hired the coach, and I was desperate. And I just said, tell me what to do and I'll do it. And so there's value in the advice to do whatever it takes, but there's also a piece of it that is interesting to reflect back on, because for the next several years, out of sheer desperation and a massive problem to solve, which was my financial woes, I would muscle through the activity. I would muster up the courage and I would check the boxes and log the hours and sit at the big mahogany desk making the cold calls. I mean, I did it all, okay? And I got results. So there's no criticism on the framework or the playbook that exists out there on how many calls you should make, how many notes to write, how many people to see, right? Your metrics, your KPIs, your SOPs, all the things, right? But what I experience nowadays in my coaching world is that realtors and lenders will come to me and they've had success. Okay. They've closed deals, they've made money, and something is still missing and they can't put their finger on it. And I can relate because that's exactly how I felt. And it wasn't until 2011, as many of you know the story, that I read the book The Go Giver. And it was a real paradigm shift for me because I very quickly realized that the reason I felt so out of alignment all these years is that I was muscling through the activity and it was all focused on solving my problem. So I was doing the things to get the leads, to get the deals, to get the money to pay my bills, right? So I was a great go-getter, but I was lacking the joy and the fulfillment and definitely the authenticity. And so after reading The Go-Giver, I developed a strategy that later became something that I started teaching real estate agents and later became a workshop. And then it became the content of my book. And it was all around how to be yourself, how to be authentic, and honestly, how to have more fun and grow your business and have predictable growth in your business such that you can expect a level of success that exceeds your current reality and be able to plan for it. So you can expect success and you can plan for it. Now, that is very different than how a lot of people operate in their real estate or mortgage business or any other self-employed industry. Most of us are lacking that belief. And because we don't have the belief, we are unwilling to invest in ourselves or invest in our business to build those systems and support to sustain the growth that we claim we're seeking. And so what ended up happening for me, because I also had not expected the level of volume that came, and I resist even calling it success, because when that volume came and I found myself earning more than I had ever dreamed possible back in 2012, pregnant with my second child, I was drowning. I was working really long hours. I was tethered to my phone. I felt like a shell of myself as a mom and a wife and a friend. And I kept on telling myself, my fear in my brain, that it's fine. It's fine. I just have to. I have to. And that would become the mantra, right? That so many of us are familiar with. I started making a lot of excuses for why I have to be tethered to my phone 7 days a week. I had no boundaries. And I was grateful for the ability to pay off all my debt, but I also wondered if this was sustainable. In fact, I considered quitting the business, especially after I went to a company meeting and I asked my colleagues that were ahead of me in the game, like if I had closed out that year at almost 20 million in volume, and let's say they had done 30 million in volume and their kids were a little bit older, and I asked them, how are you doing this? Because I am drowning over here. And they all admitted that after they put their kids to bed, they work until 10, 11, 12 o'clock at night. And once again, I came home and I said to my husband, Tony, I don't know if I'm cut out for this, because I didn't feel aligned or fulfilled when I was stressed out financially, trying to fit the mold and play the part of the good little salesperson, doing all the things to get the leads, to get the deals. Like that just felt like ick. And I wondered, I mean, is this really for me? Because I just don't feel like I fit in here. And then when I figured out a strategy that did feel authentic and I got such great results, it robbed me of my energy, my time, and my enthusiasm, and frankly, my motivation to grow. Like, why would I want to grow if the people doing more volume than me admit that they work even longer hours? And so I almost quit, and luckily I didn't. But that's where Pursuing Freedom was born. It's because I didn't feel free on either end of the spectrum. And in fact, I felt utterly stressed. And it's so interesting because when you think about how the fear that we had when we started, even if you're brand new to the business, but for sure if you've been in the business a long time, think back to what it felt like, that terrifying moment when you say, I'm going to leave this steady paycheck. I'm going to bet on myself and I'm going to hope for the best, right? But deep down inside, we all carry that uncertainty. Like we don't know what it's going to look like. We have really no clue what we're about to experience. And so for those seasoned realtors and lenders who have had the roller coaster of feast or famine, I first want to say, be proud of yourself because you have proof of concept. When given the opportunity, you give great customer service. Your friends and your clients, they trust you, they love you, they count on you, and you do a great job, right? And that's what's created the thing that leads to the roller coaster is that when we give of ourselves to the point of depletion, we become so good at giving from an empty well to not let others down that in that process we run out of energy, we run out of steam, we put the game face on, we do our very best to pretend we're fine, but we start to ask the universe for things to slow down, and then it does, right? And so on neither end of the spectrum do we ever feel that feeling of freedom. And so this is something we've been talking a lot about inside of my coaching community, the collective, is that freedom has a feeling. If I ask you, what does it feel like when you tap into the vision of your future self, when you've finally figured out how to create consistent lead flow and consistent income, and you're earning more than you need, you have overflow, you have the ability to be generous and to be charitable, and you have the time freedom to be present with your loved ones. You go on vacations and you're not working or worried about a deal falling apart because you've got a business that is designed to give you the freedom that you thought you were after when you started. What does it feel like? And when I ask that question, I hear words like peaceful, right? Ease, confidence, joy, present moments, adventures, right? So we're postponing the experience of the feelings of freedom until we feel like we've earned it. And on neither end of the spectrum do we give ourselves permission to stop and say, wow, look at how far I've come. Let me evaluate where in this journey I have felt those feelings. Because when I ask on a scale of 1 to 10, how much does your business feel like freedom today? So many are less than 5 on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being freedom and the feelings that come with it, which are peace and confidence and joy and present moments and time off, right? And 1 being uncertainty, self-doubt, overwhelm, exhaustion, stress, worry. So if we're going to do this business, this business of being self-employed, first of all, what is the point if we're not giving ourselves permission to experience the feelings of freedom now? So what we try to do then is we try to access those emotions of peace and gratitude and joy and all those things in the daily, day to day, because we've been there before. We've had snippets of those feelings, right? And when we prioritize how we feel, instead of assuming that it's our business's job or the external world's job to deliver us the feelings of freedom that we crave, when we give ourselves permission to access those feelings now, what's crazy is that we actually reverse engineer the way we call in the opportunities in our life and business that we say we are after. In other words, we don't wait for the outcome to give ourselves permission to feel good. We find ways to feel good. We find ways to feel good in community with others, with people that we care about. We strategically create a communication plan that brings value to the people that we care about. And we do it in a way that is so joyful. Truthfully, we say that joy is the compass, and that the more fun you have, the more money you make. That is the exact reason why almost 100% of everyone listening here, at least once, has tried to go on vacation. You've tried to not think about work, and then the phone rings. And it's so annoying, right? Like business always seems to find you in the moment you're trying to avoid it. Why is that? It's because you've turned that light on from within. You tried to give yourself permission to experience joy and present moments and gratitude, right? And in that, you became a magnet. So, what would it feel like to tap in to the feelings of freedom as a strategy, as a way to create the magnetism to call in the right fit clients into your life and business? So it's interesting because a lot of people will hear that. And we've talked about this with some of the guests on my podcast recently. So I highly recommend go back and listen to Amy Wilkinson and Kathy Heller, because these conversations are so important, because I've been a witness to it in my own life, is that there came a point where I had to decide I wasn't willing to tolerate this misalignment in exchange for more money or in exchange for more time, because on neither end of that spectrum did I find freedom. In fact, what I had to do was say to myself, I'm no longer willing to tolerate this. I cannot believe that the only way to be successful in this industry is to sacrifice my sanity, my time with my loved ones, my energy, and my enthusiasm. There has to be a better way. And in that moment, going into 2014, I made a decision that I would focus on growing my business the way I always had, with people that I love, by being myself, being authentic, being of value, having a blast, and watching my business grow. But this time, I was going to be intentional with the revenue that I knew was going to come in as a result of turning this light on from within. And it came, and I earmarked the funds, and I used it to create a runway to buy myself a life, to buy myself the lifestyle that I believed deep down inside this business had the potential to fund and to fuel. And so I planned to hire my first team member. And as I did, we saw that our business more than doubled, and it became a really good learning opportunity. Now, that is a podcast for another day. Specifically, how do we screen applicants, build teams, create culture, and by the way, have a blast creating leverage in our business while creating opportunities for people that we care about, which includes our team members, and most certainly raises the entire client experience for our consumers. But like I said, that's a podcast for another day. One of the things that we focus on inside of my community, the collective, which is so fun and amazing, and it's literally fills my soul. I feel like I'm having a blast doing what I love and getting to make a living. And it is like I'm living inside the daydream of my younger self. But what I want to share with you is that on the journey, you have to ask yourself, where are you out of alignment? Where are you tolerating? And where are you making excuses under this false illusion that I have to, I need to, I should? Because if you're running your business on have to, need to, ensure, and should, then there's really no reason to be in this line of work, because being self-employed is not the easy route. You'd be better off going to work for somebody else's business plan who's going to tell you what time to come to work and what to do when you're there. And as long as you show up to work on time and do what's expected of you, you're going to be paid in exchange for it. Okay. But you don't make as much money working for somebody else's business plan, do you? So what if we can simplify your business plan? What if we can make new decisions that align with the person you're becoming instead of the person you've been? So we used the example of, have you ever broken up with somebody? Have you ever broken up with a relationship? Or have you ever quit a job? 100% of you at least have done one of those two things, I'm sure, okay? And before you had the courage to have that hard conversation, you were probably tolerating something you didn't love for quite some time, if not for a very long time, right? We talk ourselves into staying in the relationship or staying in the job. We talk ourselves out of having the hard conversations because we hate conflict and we don't want to upset people. So we suffer in silence. All human beings have had an experience of doing this. But then there came the time at which you said, I'm done. Enough is enough. I'm done tolerating this. I have to make a change. And in that decision, right then and there, you change the timeline of your life. It's the same if you've ever relocated, right? Like you're living somewhere, you don't love it, and you're scared. You're going to move somewhere new where you maybe don't know as many people, and it's terrifying. And then one day you have the courage to do it, and it changes the trajectory of your life, right? Well, what we were talking about in these conferences is the visual of going up a mountain or going up an escalator to your next level self. And rarely after you've made that decision that came after some dread and procrastination, probably, but with alignment with who you were becoming, the person who was no longer willing to tolerate what was no longer aligned, you make that decision, you go up a level. And rarely does anyone think, I made a huge mistake, I should go back down to that last level. And in that process, we also outgrow outdated fears, because acting with fear along for the ride is actually a muscle that we can develop over time. So there's practices that can help us remember that we all have within us the power and the courage to make new decisions, and that we've been uncomfortable before, and it was not easy to make the hard decision, and we did it anyway, and rarely do we regret it. Usually those decisions, when they shift timelines, we can look back, and you probably have plenty of stories of that point of no return moment, and how many times you've had that in your life where you're like, and then all these other doors opened, right? Once I decided to bet on me and my future self, to leave the safety of this job or the safety of this relationship that doesn't feel great, I did the thing. And then all of a sudden, all these new relationships showed up in my path, or doors opened, or job opportunities present itself, or I met somebody and my career shifted completely, or I ended up moving away, right? Like we all have those stories. And so as a homework assignment, just sit down and remember, go back through your life to all of the tough decisions you made that maybe felt crazy, even irresponsible or improbable, or you were worried you were going to hurt someone's feelings. And in the end, you did the thing and it became the best decision of your life. Okay. And since I'm releasing this on Black Friday, I want to share a special offer to invite you to join us inside the collective, because what's happening is, number one, you find out you're not alone. I have this conversation probably 15 times a week with people that are considering joining the community. And we all have been there, and me too, by the way. So I'm speaking from experience. It's like, I feel like a crazy person. Like, it's fine. Everything is fine. I know what I need to do. I've done this for so long. I can do it with my eyes closed. I just don't know why I don't feel like it, right? And remember, we started this conversation by saying that freedom has a feeling. So there's two different frequencies to the same destination. One is, I look at my problems, I look at my bank account, my pipeline, my financials, and I tell myself, oof, I got to solve this problem. And so now I look at old evidence of what worked for me in the past, which usually means comparing myself to what's working for somebody else. And then I tell myself, I just have to do this thing. Like buckle up, put on the big girl pants, and go do the thing. And I always stop people and I'm like, does that sound fun? Does that feel good? Does that feel joyful? Does that feel like you're going to be even fully engaged when you execute on that box you're about to check? Like, do you even care about the person you're about to call to set an appointment with? Or are you doing it for you to solve the problem? Because if chances are, if you're doing it for you, you don't feel like doing it because it feels really dreadful. So like, stop doing that. I mean, this is literally what we do inside the community is we're like, stop trying to fit the mold. Let's figure out who you are. You have lived a lot of life. You've experienced some things that have made you now, today, uniquely equipped to be of value to others in a way that you couldn't have been before you experience what you've been through, right? So we figure out who you are. Then we figure out who in your community are the energizers. Who are the people you love? What do you know about them? We teach a process of identifying your ideal customer so that you can engage from a place of contribution and value, and it can actually be fun again. And all of a sudden, our members start having a blast, and it happens all the time. Last week, someone was like, I have been having more fun than ever in the last few months, and my business doubled this year in 2025. And another agent was like, oh my gosh, I'm doing all these fun things and I'm putting out all this fun content. And a year ago, she wasn't even putting content online at all. So that's a whole nother that's a conversation for another podcast too. But like, we really help you remember that within you is a light. It's the light that's on when you're not thinking about work, when you're hanging out with your loved ones and you're the natural problem solver, or you're celebrating their wins, or you're mourning their losses, but it's you, your heart and soul. That's the brand. So once we take the filter off of the light within you and we show you how to lighten up, literally, and then strategically bring that light into the marketplace in a way that is aligned with what you care about and who you care about, we can then arrive at a communication plan that feels like you can't help it. You just feel compelled to engage with your community in a way that is so beautiful and bold and radiant and unfiltered. And all of a sudden, you've got the light on, you become the magnet, and the business follows, right? And when we see the evidence of it, when we see the members start having so much fun and then their business starts to grow, it's like, hang on a second. What would it mean for me to make it fun for me? Because it's not going to be the same as what's working for her or what's working for him, right? So we customize it and we tinker with it, because a year from now, you might be interested in something totally different than you were a year ago. And you'll be stressed out by something different too. So like, this is not a one size fits all. And it's not a simple playbook that you just have to muscle through to solve your problems. This is about having fun, making an impact, and creating a ripple effect in your business. So if you're curious about it, there's an opportunity to join the community, and there's $1,000 discount off the 12-month membership. That's yes, 1,000. Or if you want to go month to month, you can do that. And there is a $100 a month discount off the month to month. Now, I'm sharing that, and that's yes 100. So yes 1,000 saves you $1,000 off the annual membership. Yes 100 saves you $100 a month off the month to month. And here's the thing, you guys, I'm about to tell you what the investment amount is. And it's so, to me, it's so attainable, because if you know that once you get access to that light within you and you start to find joy in the business, and you know that you can curate that vacation energy and that phone's going to start ringing, how many transactions does it take for you to have the ROI to cover a $3,900 investment for a 12-month membership? How many closings or commissions does it take to cover that investment? For many, it's the fraction of one closing commission, or it's maybe one closing commission. And to go month to month, it would be $390 a month after the coupon codes are applied, right? And I make it so that it's available because this isn't about the financial investment. It's about choosing you. It's about remembering that within you, there's a little kid that grew up and used to chase joy. And if joy is a trigger word for you, I get it, because sometimes life has beat us down for so long that we've lost sight of what it feels like to have fun, right? And we're a witness to it every single day inside this community. And if you could see the world through the lens I see it through, not only from my experiences of what's happened on the heels of many, many, many scary decisions that I thought for sure, this is going to ruin me. This is going to ruin me. And the amount of times I bet on me and invested in myself to hire the coaches to show me the way, because I know that I can borrow the belief I see in them until my belief expands. And for sure, I can borrow the belief they see in me. And that is the power of community. And that's the power of coaching, right? I don't regret a single investment I made on myself or in my business, because in every decision, I changed the timeline. I went up the escalator and I grew and expanded not only my knowledge base, but my network, my community, and my learning, my knowledge. I mean, it's been so much fun. So if you're sitting there on the sidelines thinking, I'll wait until, it's like staying on level one while everybody on level two is having a party. So come on up, join the party, and hop over to pursuingfreedom.com/collective. And the coupon codes are yes1000 or yes100. And we'll drop those in the show notes. But if you feel called to that next level self and you're ready to break up with all the things you're done tolerating, we'll be waiting for you. You can join us anytime, but 2026 is going to be hands down the best year ever for every single person inside my community, me included. And I want you to be part of the party. So come on board and let's change our lives together. All right. I love you. I appreciate you. If you're enjoying this content, please be sure to leave that 5-star review and share this episode with somebody who needs it, because we all know that we're surrounded by people we care about and we're all tolerating something that's just got to go. So let's let it go and let's jump into our future selves and have a good time doing it. I love you guys. See you next time.